Hi, welcome to Remember This. I am Andy HG, and I just love this time of year. I mean, the holidays are so special with all the decorations, which I really didn't have much time to do so because I just recently moved. So I also really love the hot chocolate, which I don't have in this cup, and I don't know where I was going with this. Anyway, what I love about the holidays, even though they're a little bit different this year to put it nicely, is that you get to listen to all the holiday songs on the radio, you get to reflect on holiday memories of the past, whether it's time with your family, gifts you've gotten, or in my case, watching a lot of Christmas specials, which included Sonic Christmas Blast. And from the title, it sounds like a really cheap cash-in when the Sonic 3D Blast game, but it was actually the series finale to the adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, which at that point I thought it was already over, but I digress. The plot revolves around Dr. Robotnik kidnapping Santa, with Sonic going in to stop that, only for him to become the new Santa Claus instead. Besides the obvious meme, it was rather unremarkable, though there was one thing that stuck out to me was the fact that Princess Sally Acorn appeared, which I found kind of weird because she never appeared in any of the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog episodes beforehand, and not to mention she doesn't even say anything in this, so it kind of just felt like a pointless cameo. But speaking of Sonic and the holidays, as I probably mentioned before, getting to Sonic games during this time of year is something I've always remembered from my childhood, especially since it introduced me to some of my favorite games ever. While I didn't play Sonic 1 before the others, it was a fun start of the franchise. True, it can feel a little bit archaic, especially compared to what the later games added, but I think it's still enjoyable after all this time. My introduction to the franchise was Sonic 2, which improved the feel of Sonic by giving him the spin dash, which sped up the gameplay, no pun intended, and it featured Tails who couldn't fly on command for some reason in its title, but thanks to co-op, it gave that friend, sibling, or cousin something to do while playing. And speaking of introductions, it was the first Sonic game to reward players for collecting the Chaos Emeralds in the form of Super Sonic, who kinda made the game feel a little unplayable, especially since you couldn't control when he could transform. Then there's Sonic 3, which what more can I say about it? It's definitely my favorite Sonic game, bar none. While Sonic 2 was definitely an awesome game that heavily made improvements from the first one, and it also made Sonic a household name, Sonic 3 was able to improve even more on that. It's true that the other Sonic games definitely had their plots to them, but Sonic 3 definitely had more of a show don't tell approach, and I just loved it. While Sonic 2 and Sonic CD before it had exploration, I believe the exploration was best done here. Not to mention it definitely pays off better with the special stages, as they're more forgiving this time around, since you don't have to meet a ring quota to enter them, which was just a pain in the past games. While earning a happy ending in super forms were definitely a nice thing, but after you get the Super Emeralds, you could get hyper forms for Sonic and Knuckles, as Tails can only get a super form this way. And speaking of, it introduced my favorite Sonic character, Knuckles the Echidna, who I wish got to do more in later games, but anyway, I find Sonic 3 to still be the most replayable out of all the Genesis titles, and nothing to this day overall with Sonic has topped it, though Sonic Mania really came close. After playing through the trilogy and side games that I've already discussed and will discuss in the future, myself and other Sonic fans were anticipating a Saturn title that would satisfy that feeling we had for the Genesis ones. Though it's too bad we really didn't get anything like that until recent years. And as for the consolation prizes, we got 3D Blast, which was an enhanced port of a Genesis game that I don't really have positive feelings for, but another day for that. And then there was Sonic R, which I mostly played on the PC. I could argue that if Knuckles Chaotix had more time to cook, it could have been a Saturn title, but no, it was a 32X exclusive. However, on the Sega Saturn in 1997, we saw Sonic Jam, and one of the biggest draws to this one was having the entire Genesis trilogy featured in one package. And it's only happened again in Sonic Mega Collection, because most compilations featured one or a couple of the games in the trilogy, but never all of them. As you would expect, you get Sonic 1, 2, 3, and Sonic and Knuckles, with the latter giving you the lock-on options from the get-go, including the blue spheres. Now what's special about this lineup is they're not just emulated ports, as they've been tweaked from their Genesis roots. A remastering, if you will. Although from an aesthetical standpoint, they do appear like the Genesis days, and there is an option to play the levels as intended on the Genesis. They feature updates, which I'll get to in a little bit. Also, there's multiple modes to each game, as there's a normal, which gives some extra rings, an original mode, which is kinda self-said, easy mode, which removes half of the obstacles and half of the stages too. There's a time attack mode, and also each game saves, or in Sonic 3's case, double saves? When it comes to the titles themselves, I won't go too much in detail again, as I think I've said plenty before, especially when it comes to Sonic 2 and the games that came after that, as they're virtually the same. But what really caught my attention was that Sonic 1 gives you the spin dash, which mitigates a lot of troublesome spots I've dealt with in the past, and by extension, it makes the game a little bit more balanced in my opinion. Unfortunately, they didn't program Knuckles or Super Sonic into it, but it definitely gave me more appreciation for Sonic 1 now, though it kind of makes me wonder how this version of the game in 1997 somehow easily surpasses the port release in 2006. On that note, while the bugs and slowdown from the Genesis titles were ironed out for the Saturn, there are a couple issues I've noticed while playing. The soundtrack, from what I heard, is identical to the originals, which I have no problem with. I mean, why fix what's not broken? Though when it comes to song transitions, it's not as smooth, as they feel like they just kinda stop instead of fade out. Thanks to Saturn technology, the sound effects are enhanced this time around, and most of it works. But there's a couple moments that were really rough in the sensory department, most notably the damage noise when you get hit by the spikes. While I mentioned that the Genesis slowdown was removed, there's unfortunately some new frame rate issues. It's most notable with Sonic 2 when there's enemies or even bosses you're fighting against. And when it comes to the special stages, they feel a tad heavy in control. Not like an input lag problem, but it just feels heavy. And unfortunately, these problems still carry over to the Knuckles edition. The first time I played the Saturn version of Sonic 3, I had some similar issues as I had in 2, but after taking some time away and going back, it's really not as noticeable, as I've been able to handle the special stages just fine. Then there is Sonic World. Basically, it's a hub world for the menu, and it's actually really fun. I mean, for the prototype to Sonic Adventure, how could it not be? There's a time attack mode where you have to collect a certain amount of rings, hit your right with tails, touch goalposts. This is where you also find art, history, the soundtrack, and video clips, like commercials for the video games in the OVA, which I talked about a while ago, the opening and closing to Sonic CD, and Sonic the Animation, which I've never seen before. It features Dr. Robotnik, who's tired of Sonic's popularity, so he poorly disguises himself as a blue blur to ruin his reputation, and unfortunately there is no follow-up for it. So in conclusion, why do I feel like they could have added more titles to this, like Sonic Spinball, Sonic CD, maybe Knuckles Chaotix? I'm perfectly content with the job that Sonic Team did, because they could have just emulated the Genesis titles like they do with most compilations, but I appreciate the fact that they went through the extra effort to retool these games. I could definitely recommend Sonic Jam to those people who want to play every version of the original games, and it goes without saying, but I can definitely recommend this to Sonic enthusiasts and Sega fans alike. But if you want a physical copy, or at least a North American physical copy, it'll cost you a pretty penny like a late Saturn release would. So definitely import this. And I want to give a shout out to Tim for securing this copy for me. And I want to thank you again for watching this video, and I do apologize for the lack of Remember This episodes throughout the year, as there's just been a lot going on. And I don't mean what's been going on globally, but there's just a lot of things in my personal life I had to take care of, like moving was one of those things, which, as you can see, this is the first video, the first Remember This episode in the brand new room. And I definitely like it now, and I think things are personally getting a little bit more calmer for me. And with that said, I definitely want to make 2021 more, more in terms of content and more exciting going forward, as there's a couple things I'm really looking forward to next year. One of which, even though I don't know if there's a game coming out, there is the 30th anniversary of Sonic, and there's quite a few Sonic titles that I have planned right now that I want to cover. Mostly mainstream games and console games, but I might go over the handheld titles at some point. And speaking of franchises, there's just, a lot of things I want to talk about. Super Mario Brothers, there's the Crash games, which we finally got another Crash game this year, which, a proper sequel to the trilogy that I really want to talk about, but I feel like I have to talk about the original trilogy before I get to that. But, yeah, I definitely want to make next year a lot more exciting, not just with video gaming content, but with just content overall on the channel. So, let's hope, let's pray, whatever you do to hope that next year will be a little bit more eventful. And also, I definitely want to thank those who've been sticking around to the channel, even though there was a big lack of content this year. Thank you for thank you for sticking around with me. And for those who are brand new to the channel, thank you and welcome to the channel. And I hope you're gonna like it here. So, until the next time, this has been Remember This with Andy HG, and I hope to see you next year. Take care.